Hi, welcome to our channel. We're the Simple Teachers.
Hi, today we're going to ask a few questions about grouping. Do you struggle getting your kids into groups and getting small groups started? Well, we're going to help you out with that. We're going to walk you through literacy grouping quick steps.
We have 6 steps for you to make it as simple as possible.
All right, when we think about grouping, I first want to mention one thing. In our instruction, we have a couple choices. First choice is we can use the problem-solving method, or we can use a standardized method. Now, the difference between the two is a standardized method is a program, and you can deliver instruction from a program, and that's okay. But a problem-solving model or method is even better. It comes from a teacher. We use data, we use our knowledge of the students to actually create exactly what that kid needs. And that's what we recommend you do. And that's what we hope you can do after these steps.
Okay, so here's how we use our problem solving to form our groups and to teach our groups. So step number 1 is to use data. Not just any data, standardized data. Will you say something about that?
Yes, standardized data is important to use because we can compare it to other teachers, other schools across the nation. So we have what I call a nice dose of reality, which is always good. And we can also look at it over time. So we can see changes in the students over time as we're progress monitoring, or just how they're growing or not growing, heaven forbid. So you want to make sure you use a standardized measure. Core reading programs or worksheets or school work that they're doing, they're not standardized measures. So they're really not the reliable data you want to use when you're using data to form your groups.
So probably the simplest standardized data to use is DIBELS or Reading Fluency. We can take that ORF, the Reading Fluency, and use that data. That is a great leeway into starting your grouping.
Absolutely.
Step number 2 is to group your students with the data you have. So by using that ORF data, I like to just sort them on the computer program. If not, you can do it paper pencil, but just sort them. Maybe go from highest to lowest and just sort those students. You want to try to get like your lowest kids, maybe like 3 to 4 is what we prefer. Maybe your on kids, maybe 4 to 5, maybe 6. Kids that are doing really well, maybe you could have maybe up to 8.
Sure.
But those kids that really need a targeted intervention, keep those low, 3 to 4.
Yeah. And in grades that don't have oral reading fluency yet, you could use a standardized measure like nonsense word fluency, or in kindergarten, we can use a skills one like phoneme segmentation or something.
Absolutely. So first grade, you'll be able to start using oral reading fluency when you do that middle of year.
Yeah, that's when it becomes
That's
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
So group your students. If you have any questions about that, leave them in the comments. We can answer. Number 3 is to review your student groupings. After you've taken your data and grouped your students that way, are there some oddballs that maybe you're like, no, that student won't work there? You know your students. Group them the best way.
Yeah. You might have a behavior 2 kids can't work together, and it would really be helpful if you just pulled one either up or the other one down or something.
Yes.
But don't make too many changes.
Yeah. And also remember to review your data. So just because you've grouped them once, review them. How often would you suggest reviewing them? Weekly? Bi-weekly?
Weekly? I mean, really, you're looking at them every day as they're in that group, so you know every day how they're doing.
Yeah.
And at the end of a week, you could easily make a change.
So listen to that little teacher thought. If you're feeling like, oh, this student needs a different group, put them in that different group.
Absolutely.
There's no need to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Do it.
Yeah. The only time that I struggled with moving a child into another group was when we hadn't finished a text yet.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I knew they were ready, but we're halfway through this novel. So I waited.
You just don't get to finish it. No.
Yeah. So that would probably be my only recommendation.
Okay.
Waiting to finish a text.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Step 4 is determine your rotation schedule. So once you've looked at your data, you've grouped your students, made any changes needed, look at your rotation schedule. So we have some recommendations on our little literacy grouping quick steps printout. And these recommendation minutes are based on the age and appropriateness.
Yeah. So we looked at the attention span of a child.
Yeah.
It's only plus or minus 2 minutes and their age. So a kindergartner's 5 plus or minus 2, that's either 3 to 7 minutes. So
we can shoot for 7.
Shoot for 7 minutes rotation. Maybe by the end of the year, you could have 8 or 9 minutes, but it's just not age appropriate to keep them attending, which you want them attending to your center, to your group the whole time. So it's not appropriate to ask much more. So we really have our minutes listed for each age group using age appropriate attention span numbers.
Yeah. So figure out that rotation. How often are you going to see a child? Does a child need to be in 2 groups? That's something to think about too. You can do that as well. They can see you twice.
Yeah.
So figure out your schedule with the groups you created.
Yeah.
Step number 5 is now that you have your groups and you have your rotation, what are you going to teach them? So I like to look at my DIBELS data, and from there I see the students who are maybe really low, like maybe my reds, but I don't just look at their composite score. I look at their oral reading fluency, I look at their accuracy, I look at their retail, but I'm looking at those and nonsense words as well. But those students who are really low, I need to target something that either needs to be retaught from Tier 1 instruction or intervened on that they should already have and they don't yet.
Yeah.
So if their accuracy is low, that might be an indicator that they need a phonics intervention, and I can use the core phonics survey to help me diagnose that. If their accuracy is good, but yet their fluency rate is still below, I may need to intervene on a prosody intervention. And we have videos about prosody. We'll put links below. And so a prosody intervention would be very appropriate for a small group setting for those students who are really low. Let's say you have kids that are close to grade level. They may just need a second dose of your Tier 1 instruction. That's the easiest thing to prep because you've already prepped it.
And you can align to yourself really easy, can't you? You
So,
know what you just taught.
I know what I just taught. I'm going to do it again. You can be so flexible with that. Less prep right there.
Yeah.
Double teach, reteach.
Yeah.
And same with your on kids. And above kids, we want to get them thinking deeply.
Yeah, align to your Tier 1 instruction.
Yes.
Take them deeper. Don't go to the next grade's content. That's really not helpful to the student.
Great tip.
Align to your Tier 1 and go
Deeper.
Yeah.
So that's going to look different in every grade level.
Yeah. And also, every group should be different. Even if you have 2 groups that are quite similar to each other, really, you shouldn't have a group come to you and you pull out the exact same thing and do it again. Because if you can do 2 or 3 groups that are exactly the same, then you ought to be teaching that thing Tier 1.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
My class right now, a little bit unique. I have a low group right now, but they all needed our controlled vowels. So there's 7 kids in my group right now, but that's all what they needed.
Yeah.
So I chose to save time, get them all in 7. I know I can manage it.
Sure.
And so I did it. And they're low. There's some of my low students.
Yeah.
But I can't afford to teach something twice.
No way. And the rule that I like to follow is if 50% of my kids need it, I need to teach it Tier 1.
Tier 1.
Otherwise, then I do it Tier 2. And so 7, that's nowhere near 50% of your students. So that's a good call. But I often have gone into classrooms and I've seen a teacher do the exact same thing over and over and over in Tier 2 instruction. That's not really Tier 2 instruction. That's Tier 1 instruction being delivered in a small group setting.
Okay.
So that's not what you want to do for your content in a small group. You want your content to be truly Tier 2. It is need-based, differentiated. If you have a bunch of groups that all need the same thing, pop that back over to Tier 1 instruction.
An appropriate way to repeat something would be maybe you're using the same text with a different purpose.
Yeah.
So maybe one group needs multi-syllabic word instruction and you're using a text. It could even be your main selection.
Sure.
And then another group, their prosody is struggling.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to use that same text, but with a prosody lesson. So it could be the same text,
Sure.
but your content of what you're teaching is different.
And I may even take that same text into a third group, but the focus is comprehension.
There we go. So see, our prep becomes less when we use any Tier 1 instruction we can already use.
Yeah.
Rereading is an amazing
alignment.
thing and super effective.
Oh, yeah.
So those are great ways to get rereading in.
Yes. And there are a few studies on just aligning our Tier 1 with our Tier 2 and how students improve at a higher rate, just aligning those two things together. So we align it with our text, we align it with our strategy choice. So if you're teaching summarizing in Tier 1, summarize in Tier 2, even if our texts are at a lower level.
Yeah.
So aligning with yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah. So keep that in mind as you're planning your small group content.
If you have questions about planning your small group content, let us know and we can answer any questions. Hopefully we covered a broad scope.
We scratch the surface.
So step number 6 is, what do the other kids do while you're teaching that small group?
Yes.
So this is where centers can come into play. Make sure the things you are giving them are meaningful and authentic. Make sure you have procedures built in. There's a huge variety of things you can do with your centers.
Make sure they're meaningful. Kids are successful with what you have them doing. Again, just like our content in small group, we like to align that with the components of reading. I like to align, and so do you, your centers with the components of reading. So a phonics group, a vocabulary center, a fluency center, we have all the components going on, but it's something that they're successful with and is meaningful. If those 3 things are done, it's like gold star.
That they can do independently so they don't have to come and interrupt your group.
Yes.
If they are, that's a procedure we need to fix.
For sure.
Well, we hope these 6 quick tips for grouping small group instruction has helped you today. Make sure you've subscribed to our channel, like this video, share it on your social media, and we sure appreciate you watching this video. Thank you. Simply Teach.